Hey folks, just before we get started, wanted to let you guys know that when I recorded this episode, I forgot to change my mic. I didn't realize it needed to be changed, because usually when I open up Audacity, the microphone's already set up, and today just happened to be a day where I forgot to check ahead of time in case my computer, for whatever reason, changed it. And guess what? My computer changed it, and it ended up being a really crappy mic that I changed it to. And I'm very upset right now. I've been sitting here for about an hour or two longer than I expected to be, trying to fix the audio in any way, shape, or form I could, and unfortunately, it still sounds like garbage. To the point where you're gonna get a lot of clicks on my end that I really wish I could do a better job of getting rid of, but it is abysmal. It is just simply a terrible time. It's listenable. You can hear it, and I'm sure it will. I'm sure that people who are listening to it it's not like, if you're just gonna listen to it just to hear what we have to say, it gets the job done. It's just not gonna be a pleasurable experience. So really apologize for that, and I wish it could be better, but unfortunately here we are. So thank you guys for listening, and regardless, I hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving, and you have my permission to skip this episode if you want. I'll do my best to update you guys on Twitter about what actually happened here. So anyways, thank you all, and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Virtual Bowl Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend Matt.
Hey Chris, you know what's kind of fucked up?
Oh no, what happened?
So the White House did a thing this year where you got to vote on the turkey that the president would pardon.
Yes.
And one was named Corn and one was named Cobb.
Okay. Yes. I saw this. Okay.
Yeah. But here's the thing: they present it as this cute thing where it's like, oh, you get to choose who the president decides to pardon this year, and they have cute names and they gave them personalities. They said one was into musical theater, one was into knitting, things like that.
Are you gonna wait? Okay, yeah, just finish up your story.
Okay, but and I don't know anything more than that. I know that Corn was pardoned. However, this creates such a weird scenario where you are implying that the one that the president does not pardon is going to die.
What the fuck happened to Cobb? Okay, hold on.
I don't know.
I'm looking this shit up.
Why would you present a literal life or death for these turkeys and try to present it as this cutesy thing?
Let's see.
Oh, it seems both of them were pardoned.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was reading the article here, and it says here that the White House does say this year's two National Thanksgiving turkey contestants have arrived in Washington D.C. They're contestants.
Contestants.
That does not imply that implies, and Americans have the chance to vote to decide which one will get the honor. This is alarming. I think PETA. I just think I heard PETA had a stroke over this.
Okay, no matter who wins, both Corn and Cobb will retire to their new home on the campus of Iowa State University following the ceremony.
Okay, well that's
so they're both alive. They are both alive.
Okay, well that also does sound like what the parents would tell you, that little Whiskers has been is now in the farm upstate. Yeah, that kind of sounds like that type of thing. Oh boy. That's so fucking alarming, man.
Sorry, Cobb. Not enough people voted for you on Twitter, so you get to be the dinner.
Yeah, you're now the turkey that will feed the White House staff. But let's just we have our fun with the turkey pardon, but let's just also acknowledge how fucked up it is that we celebrate this power that like of like, hey, we're pardoning these turkeys here, but we won't pardon like the millions of people who are incarcerated for no good fucking reason either. You know, just I just want to throw that out there too. How the whole thing's kind of fucked up, just a little bit.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Yes, this is actually going to be airing on Thanksgiving.
Hell yeah.
And we hope you guys obviously are staying safe with Thanksgiving and not gathering for family. I understand how hard it is to not see your family for this, but I think for the good for everyone to just try to stand the holiday, get on Zoom and celebrate that way. I am fascinated because we were uploading this at 8:00 in the morning, so let's just assume that we have a dedicated audience member who is watching this or listening to this at 8 a.m.
Yep.
But what I'm looking forward to is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade this year because I hear it's gonna be a train wreck. It's gonna be great.
So it's funny you say that. I'm currently wearing the jackets that I got for marching in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Yes. So for people who don't know, you were in the marching band for the college you attended.
Yes, I was in the Marching Illini.
Yes.
Very fun times. In 2015, we went to New York and marched in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. We also, and this is a cool thing that I'm just gonna brag about a little bit, and then we can move on. But
no worries.
We part of what we did was we had a pep rally on Times Square.
I remember that. Yes.
We played some tunes for about 5 minutes. It was fucking awesome. One of the literally a cooler experience than the parade itself.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating.
I don't know. Like I feel like people would get kind of tired after marching in a parade like that. That's a little.
Yeah.
It's a little exhausting.
Yep.
What? By the way, like just because like my fascination is always with the balloons. What balloon were you guys nearby when you? Guys
we were directly behind Elf on the Shelf, so we got to stare at a balloon elf butt the entire parade route.
Excellent. Yeah, and this year they're doing like they're kind of combining a bunch of the parades that didn't happen this year in New York City, so they're gonna they like do like tape segments where they show off those things, and that's gonna be cool. They're gonna have performances from people. That's gonna be cool. But what I'm looking forward to beyond that, the balloons are some of them are gonna fly live, I think, and some will be pre-taped because they're gonna be driven around by like vehicles instead of being carried by people. Which, yeah, that's gonna go well. The thing I'm looking most forward to is the floats because apparently they're gonna be animated this year.
Oh God.
And
oh my God,
I cannot even imagine the bullshit that's going to come up with that.
It's going to be, like you said, a train wreck.
It's going to be so bad. But I'm looking forward to it. I know that NBC, they do the best job that they possibly can, and they work together with the Macy's and them. They work together with the New York City area. And you know that people are going to try to show up and attend it, and the police are going to try to, like, get out the, to try to get them out of the way. And not have people gather, and that's gonna also be a train wreck. So it's gonna be a disaster. I just sense it being a disaster. But we luckily have 2 Thanksgiving games, not 3, but 2 Thanksgiving games, that we will be able to enjoy after the fact. So with that being said, later on we're gonna talk about some we're gonna talk about Thanksgiving dinner, the one that the NFL partakes in, to kind of recap their year. And some food that may have gone bad this year that might not be back next year. But with that being said, let's recap Week 11 because what a wild week! A lot of great games.
Loved it.
A lot of great games that we're not going to be able to cover in their entirety here. But I felt like the game of the week I would consider among the game of the years that we listed in last week's episode or 2 weeks ago. I forget when that happened. But when we list their game of the years, I would include Chiefs at Raiders on the game of the year watch, because it was a game of just offensive prowess. Patrick Mahomes and Derek Carr went toe to toe. I mean, the Raiders really did a good job, and it kind of showed like the strength of both of these teams is the offense, and the weakness for both of these teams was the defense. And with like a minute 55 to go, it felt like, or whatever the amount of time was that the Raiders gave the Chiefs, you kind of realize that, like, okay, well, we know how this is going to end. The Chiefs are going to get the touchdown, and sure enough, they did. And that was how the game ended. And it was still, but even with the predictable ending, everything about it was somewhat surprising, just considering how the Raiders going into this week felt like they were a little bit more of an underdog, just because of what happened with them with the COVID testing and all that. But they stuck around and had a pretty solid game all around.
I was scared about my lock the entire week. It was very fun to watch. Glad it was a Sunday night game, so just attention could totally be on it.
Mm-hmm.
Fun times.
Yeah. What's your takeaways from it? Do you think any more of the Chiefs, any less of the Raiders?
Not at all.
What's your feelings on that?
Both teams are fantastic. I think that the Raiders have such a great have such a great team that they've put together, and really are surprising a lot of people. Where the Chiefs, they're the Chiefs. They're gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, I will say, like, I am, and we've done this, before with the Chiefs, and in terms of like concerns. Like, it just seems like the Chiefs' defense is once again gonna be an issue. They didn't have like a terrible game necessarily, but it was one where, like, you kind of see, like, okay, that's going to be like, if they're going to lose in January, that's probably going to be the reason, is because their defense is not going to be able to stop things. But
that's kind of how it was last year, right?
Right, right, yeah, and it's, as long as you have Patrick Mahomes at the helm, like, you're in good shape. And again, with the Raiders, they're in a similar situation. Their defense might be their downfall, but I don't know, man. I think that the Raiders have proven that they're going to be dangerous, and they're going to be one of those teams that you just have to be able to prepare for. And I'm just fascinated to see how they end up. I think the Raiders are going to end up being the 5 seed. I know that's not the case right now. I think the Titans might be the 5 seed.
I think so.
But I think
Titans have 7 wins.
I think that the Raiders will come away, like after they get through their schedule. I think that they will be sitting at the 5 seed, because I just think that they are the best team to probably not win their division at this point.
That's wild. That's still wild to me, just because they've been in this. One, they're in a new city,
right?
And two, they've been in this, I don't know what you would call it, but just this kind of suck sphere for so long recently.
Yeah,
where it's like you associate them with being a bad team.
Yeah.
I think the exception being, what was it, 2016, that they were pretty good.
Yeah, that was Derek Carr having like almost an MVP level season and then getting injured, and we had to deal with Connor Cook or whatever the hell his name was.
Whatever the fuck.
Yeah, in the playoff game.
Yeah. So, I mean, good for them. It's finally seems to all be working out for them, and I hope that they have some success.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, the blowout of the week. Steelers at Jaguars. And look, I mean, there's not really much to say about the game, so instead we're gonna move on to a new segment. I don't know if it's gonna work out the way I want it to, but we're gonna give it a good old try. So, essentially, what I want to try to pull off here is that we're going to do we're gonna add a video game twist to this whole playoff scenario thing, because we haven't really like incorporated the video games enough in this podcast, so we're gonna do it in this fashion. When I think about putting together a cast of the best all-star characters in video games, I think of a game like Super Smash Bros. And when we think about the NFL playoffs, it is a clash of all-star teams. So why not kind of combine the two? And I'm now going to create, for the playoffs this year, we're going to call it Super Tackle Bros. And so what it's ultimately going to end up being is that I'm going to try to do this a lot on my end here, is that in January, when we do the playoffs, we're going to simulate Super Smash Bros. Matchups where we're going to pick a Smash Bros. Character and have them represent the mascot of an NFL team that is in the playoffs. And so because of that, we're going to also, to lead up into that, we're going to use the playoff scenarios as kind of like the tool to see who is going to end up making it into this Super Tackle Bros roster. And so this week, Steely McBeam of the Pittsburgh Steelers has a chance to join the Super Tackle Bros roster. And Matt, what will the Steelers have to do in order to add McBeam to the playoffs?
So in order to get Steely McBeam onto the playoffs roster, what they will have to do is win their game. They will also need the Raiders to lose or tie, and Miami to lose or tie. However, if both teams, the Raiders and Miami, tie, then they do not clinch it yet, which is very situational. However, also very unlikely.
There you go.
So they need to win. They need two other teams to lose.
Yeah.
Which means they're getting to the point where it's a win and in.
Yeah,
just not this week.
And I know that harping on playoff scenarios now is maybe for many people are like I mean, what's the point? We kind of know that the Steelers are going to end up making the playoffs. Well, we don't know. Anything could happen.
No.
Anything strange could happen. The Dolphins are playing the Jets and the Raiders are playing the Falcons, and so this is a very much like a kind of a stretch to see the Steelers clinch the playoffs on Thanksgiving weekend, but anything can happen. Anything can happen, and so it's always fun to kind of diagnose it. And we're gonna combine it with this idea that I'm prepared to do Smash Bros. Simulations.
Sweet.
In January. Out of curiosity, if Steely McBeam gets in, who's going to be the representative of Steely McBeam?
I was thinking about that. My first instinct was Rob.
Rob. Interesting.
We can hash that out more, but I just figured he kind of like deals with steel and beam stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think we could definitely talk about that further.
He's also a robot made out of metal.
Yes. Well, is Steely McBeam? I feel like he's just a chiseled dude.
Well, he is. I meant more. If we're trying to do the theme of the Steelers, I would think Rob, but translating Steely McBeam is something different. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll talk about it further. When Steely McBeam is on the roster, we'll assign a character at that point. Okay, that was a second take that we had to do there, but I feel pretty good. I feel a little bit better after the second take here.
Good, and maybe you heard the first one too. If Chris forgot to edit it out.
Yeah, there's a chance. There's a chance. I mean, sometimes I have to edit these things real quick. So, anyways, moving forward to the team chaos of the week. In the Miami Dolphins, we were all on board. We were all getting excited for you, and then all of a sudden, Denver Broncos kind of took you to town a little bit. The offensive line was abysmal as the Broncos beat the Miami Dolphins 2013. I was concerned about this game just because, again, in Denver, it's a different place. Like, I know that we talk about crowd sizes and stuff, but the Broncos have literal altitude issues in their stadium, which is why I was a little concerned about this game. But beyond that, though, the Dolphins' offensive line was terrible, and Brian Flores in the game decided to turn things around a little bit and bench Tua because he was not performing well, and made Ryan Fitzpatrick start, and Fitzpatrick almost won the game. What was your thoughts coming away from this game?
I would say that Tua is still a rookie,
and
a rookie coming back from a really bad injury in college. So we need to look at this and just go, hey, this is Tua's like what, third start, second start, yeah,
something along those lines.
Yeah. So he's still new to this. The Dolphins have been much better lately, but they're still not a world-beating team in the way that the Steelers and the Chiefs are. And Tua has already shown that he can be good, but he's not going to be good all the time immediately. So I think going away from this, we just need to keep that in mind. I still think the Dolphins are a great team overall. And we'll see what they do rest of the season, but I don't think this is hit the panic button.
Yeah, and it's weird because I think for a second a lot of us are thinking when Flores decided to bench Tua, I think the initial reaction is like, "Whoa, wait a minute! Are we saying now that are you just now going back and forth between the two quarterbacks? Like what's going on here?" But I think what Flores is trying to do is, and this is just based off of the other analysts that I've heard about this topic, is just establish accountability a lot more amongst the quarterback position, because usually a quarterback is very much protected, like until the last drop, essentially. That they will keep them in the game for as long as possible, even if they keep on playing shitty game after shitty game after shitty game. And I think for this instance, I think Flores is just trying to say, like, just like any player on the team that's having a bad game, we're gonna put them on the bench so that way another player could have an opportunity to step in. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is win the game. And so I think for now I'm okay with this. I guess what my only concern is like, and we know that Tua is going to get the start next week, and we know that he's not, this is not like a permanent benching or anything.
No.
But I think my only concern is that what happens if Tua continues to perform poorly on a week-to-week basis, and then do we just keep on inserting Ryan Fitzpatrick? Or are we like what's going to happen to me? Like, are we just going to allow Tua to just make his mistakes and just let him keep starting? Because like I understand what people are coming from. Like, the quarterback position shouldn't be held in a different regard as other positions that treat everyone equally. I get that. I don't know. There's just something about the quarterback position that I do feel like is a little delicate, that needs to be maybe handled with a little bit more care. That I'm just not. I don't hate the decision by Flores, but I am a little like, okay, what's that precedent gonna set?
Right. Well, and we'll see how it plays out rest of the season.
Yeah. We have quite a few games to play out here, and luckily they get the Jets this week.
Oh yeah. This will be fine.
so they're in good shape. All right. Any other games? Because there's a lot of great games. Any other game you want to point out?
Fuck you, Packers. Rodrigo Blankenship is my hero.
Yes, the hot rod.
God, I saw a picture. It was Blankenship next to, God, who was it? I forget who it was. Probably DK Metcalf. But it was like it was Blankenship next to just a player who was like insanely fucking ripped.
Right.
And it said the NFL is great because these two players are allowed to play the same sport.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. Like, you always like the NFL. As toxic as it is, it is fun that like you have all these people with like all shapes and sizes and looks and all that, like everything like that. It's not just like this one. Like, I look at a hockey game and I feel like it's like 5 of the same guy on the ice at the same time for one team. Like it just they all look the same. Versus here, it's just like, okay, yeah, you got a lot of diversity with this sport, and I enjoy it. But no, yeah, I think go in terms of going back to the game, that was the kind of game that you want to see from the Colts as being like a contender level team. You want to see them compete head to head with among the best of the NFC, and they pulled it off. So good for them. Texans was sneaky good. I enjoyed it. Cam Newton and Deshaun Watson continue to play well. Deshaun Watson's having a hell of a year. He's playing extremely well this year.
He is proving his worth, and Bill O'Brien should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah, they're allowing him to scramble a lot more since Bill O'Brien left, and it's working. He's been such a beast. And then the Rams Buccaneers game as well. I mean, that we didn't include that in the team chaos realm because the Bucks and they basically have the same record, but Bucks and Rams. I mean, the Rams they're now at the top of the NFC West.
Yeah, Jared Goff is not crumbling under pressure, which is usually what happens when when he gets put under pressure.
Sure.
So. Rams could have a sneaky comeback.
Yeah, it's their defense really is doing the job. And speaking of the NFC West, the Seahawks overcame their Cardinals demons and took care of them on Thursday night.
These three teams are making the playoffs, no question.
Yeah, I that's the thing. Like I think all the NFC teams are flawed, but I do think that like the slate that we have now is more concrete than what we have in the AFC, like in terms of like who's going to make it, who's not, because I think it's going to be really competitive in the AFC as to like there's going to be constantly changing wild card slate, where I really think the 7 that are in the NFC playoffs right now are going to remain the 7.
I think that just with the easy schedule, the Bears could potentially sneak in.
Potentially, yes.
But it's going to be hard to with how good the rest of them are.
Yeah, and when I say 7, I guess I really mean like 6 because the NFC East that's the chaos of the NFC.
Yes,
I forgot to point that out because the
Cowboys are good again. So
yeah. So that's the thing I wanted to bring up too. The Cowboys won their game against the Vikings, and it is like every single week we have a new team that we think is going to win the NFC East.
Every team has 3 wins.
every week we're thinking that another team is going to win the division. Now, literally 2 weeks ago we were like the Eagles are going to win this division, and now
last week was Giants.
Last week was Giants. Now it's the Cowboys. But like now, I think the Eagles are the furthest team to win the division. I think the rest of them have a chance, even if the Eagles are in first place.
They're still in first place because they fucking tied a game.
It is the most wild batshit stuff.
Love this division. It should not exist next year. We're gonna do 3 divisions in the NFC. See how that works out.
Well, I love it. I love the division. In just the purely chaotic, just what the fuck is gonna happen.
I love it in the chaotic sense. It is also by and far my least favorite division. 100%.
Yeah, I get that.
the collection of teams is like if you had to average where I ranked them, they would be on the bottom. Which I should do that. I should rank my teams 1 through 32 and then average the positions to see which division is actually my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the NFC East is near the bottom for me, just because of, I mean, maybe the Giants would balance it out, but like I really don't care for Washington or Dallas. But I will say this: the one really good bold prediction I've seen out there by a few people, and I think I might end up taking it up a little bit. The winner of the NFC East is going to win a playoff game.
I can see it.
just to be, if we want to just crank the weird up even more.
Yeah, because they're gonna go against. They're gonna go against either the Rams or not the Rams, the Buccaneers, or the an NFC West team. And as good as the NFC West teams are, they've dropped the ball a couple times, so there's a chance.
Yeah, it could be the Bucs too, and the Bucs have faltered it in like a major stage multiple times. So I don't know. It could happen. Chargers barely beat the Jets. That was another interesting game. Yeah. Overall,
you almost had it.
Overall, and the Panthers shut out the Lions.
Panthers shut out the Lions. I fucking love it. You love to see it. Good on you, PJ Walker, getting your NFL start and having it go so well for you. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, and then the Titans in overtime, Derrick Henry ran all over the Ravens and got that victory as well. So that was that
Fuck the Lions.
fuck the Lions.
Fuck the Lions.
Yeah, pretty good week. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and it's kind of the perfect kind of like a segue for it to go into week 12. But before we get to those picks, let's talk about Thanksgiving a little bit.
Let's do it.
So we know that the NFL, most likely because they're a multi-billion-dollar organization, probably has a very large Thanksgiving table. Okay, a lot of food on the table. And let's just say, in the sense that there's a lot of moving parts on this Thanksgiving table here. A lot of it's filled to kind of consider every little aspect of the league, and unfortunately, this 2020 Thanksgiving table, some of that food has been sitting out there for a little while, might go bad, and so I think it's important to look at the food on the NFL Thanksgiving table and say what aspects of the NFL may not last into 2021. So we're talking players, we're talking coaches, we're talking success of certain teams. What elements are we looking at here that could end up expiring into 2021 that we will not see beyond this season? And so, with that, I pass it to you, Matt. What's
all right?
First thing that you can think of.
So we're gonna save the hottest take for last.
Sure.
My hottest take at least.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll start with an easy one. I don't think Matt Patricia is going to be coaching the Lions anymore next year.
Yeah.
He hasn't really done much. His team has stunk. He's a defensive coach with a bad defense, and I can't think of anything positive he's done coaching wise. Seems to be a decent guy, but unfortunately that doesn't always cut it when it comes to NFL coaching. So I think that Matt Patricia will no longer be coaching the Giants next year and will be much better as a DC somewhere.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask, like, do you think that Matt Patricia, like, he's like a main dish on this Thanksgiving table, but do you think he's gonna be a side dish next year, or do you think maybe he's just off the table together, like he won't be even?
No,
in the league?
he'll definitely be a side dish. Most head coaches land somewhere after the season, and it's not like teams there aren't teams out there that need DCs. So
sure, no, yeah, absolutely. I think a potential place he could end up going back to New England for all we know.
Yeah, totally.
So there's definitely an opening here. One coach though that I genuinely think that if he gets fired, and I think all indication is that he will. That I think will at least take a break for a year. The league is Adam Gase. I don't think anyone trusts this dude. It has been 2 head coaching stints that have gone terribly wrong, and this one is turning into probably his worst coaching job yet. And he consistently has shown that even though he's considered this offensive genius, that his offenses tend to be incompetent. And
do you think that they're currently keeping him around because the Jaguars are only 1-15? Could potentially go 1-15, and they want to make sure they have the first overall pick.
Yeah, they could. It could be part of the reasoning. Also, I do think in recent times the Jets haven't been too quick to create an interim situation. Like I think with the Todd Bowles era, how that all ended was. I think that they ended up waiting till the last second, waited till Black Monday to actually get rid of him. So I think it's also how the Jets operate, but yeah, that could be a strategy for them. They could just think, hey, let's just keep the worst people in play here. Because I mean, ultimately, like, who are they going to go to? They're going to go to like Greg Williams, and then Greg Williams won games for the Browns last year as an interim head coach. So like, I don't know, or not last year, 2 years ago. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But I just think they'll use him to go 0-16, and then they'll kick his ass out. And I don't think I really don't see another team picking him out. Plus, it's a team that's like super desperate, but that would really be desperate measures there. Well, what else? What else is expiring for you on the NFL table?
So I'm these next two are both quarterbacks, and these are the main courses of my takes. That is.
Mm-hmm.
One may not be that surprising. I don't think Jimmy G will be on the 49ers next year.
That I feel like because we went over the takes a little. We wrote down the takes that we were going to go for on the Discord that we have here. I think this is a hotter take than the one that you have before it.
Really? Okay.
Because I feel like I don't know. I guess when it comes down to like cap situations, like the other scenario could maybe be a lot harder to get out of. But I just think that I think that Jimmy G. I think that the 49ers still like Jimmy G. And I think they still want to go with him as a quarterback versus again. I mean, I don't want you to spoil the other take yet, but versus the other way where I feel like that might be I think there's a lot of visceral going on in the other team right now. I think Jimmy G's. I'm not saying that he's safe necessarily. Like I do think that there's always a chance that the 49ers, that Kyle Shanahan's going to want to look for another quarterback.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they're necessarily all out on the Jimmy G experience yet. I think there's a chance.
My interpretation of it is just that there have been instances this season where Jimmy G hasn't played and his backups have kind of played better.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, I get that.
Yeah, and Shanahan has an offense that really whoever plays for him is going to do well. But if you can land a big name, and I don't know who all the QB free agents are this year.
Yeah.
But like, let's say, I'll use someone like Big Ben for example. If this is Big Ben's last season in Pittsburgh, still wants to play, put him on Shanahan's offense, and holy fuck.
I'll give you an even more wild scenario. What if Aaron Rodgers becomes available, goes to the team that was going to draft him number 1 overall, and went with Alex Smith instead? Yeah,
that's another option too. Is this Aaron Rodgers' last contract here?
No, not necessarily, but the Packers. I don't know. Like, what if the Packers? I'm just.
What if they trade?
Yeah. What if they decide? You know what? Let's turn the page now. Let's go to Jordan Love. Let's change things up now. Let's. That would be surprising if they ended up going
that would
in that
be
direction.
Very surprising.
But I'm just saying, like, that's just out of we know that eventually they're gonna want to turn to Jordan Love. So like, what if it happens next year?
Yeah,
who knows? Okay. I do like that take though. I do think that there is a good shot that Jimmy G is not on the 49ers, but I do think it's not the other one, which again we'll talk about in a second. I feel like might be a little bit more possible. Speaking of quarterbacks, Drew Brees. This is not necessarily a detriment on Drew Brees' ability, although his ability has waned in this season. But I do think that his time is coming. I think that he is going to announce his retirement at the end of the year. I think that that's what most of us are expecting. I think that he has kind of indicated that he has been thinking about it in recent years, and that he there's nothing been, he's not said like formally like, oh, this is my last year, but there's a lot of people who are thinking like, okay, this might be the last ride, so let's try to get this guy a Super Bowl. So I think that this is the end of the line for Drew Brees, not in like an informal sense where the Saints are just going to kick his ass out of the stadium. Yeah. More of it's time for me to end my Hall of Fame career.
Yeah. And I think that if Drew Brees wins the Super Bowl this year, he's done.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Sure. No question about it. If he wins the Super Bowl, then that's going to be it.
Yeah, I would be stunned if he returns after winning a Super Bowl. That'd be insane. Yeah. So that's Drew Brees there. All right. So then what was your other quarterback take then?
Yeah. So my other quarterback take is Carson Wentz will not be an Eagle next year.
Yeah. So on this front, I feel like it's getting to that point where, like, I mean, we're people especially like the fan base they want Jalen Hurts to start. They want him at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's just a part of me that they have I think the where it could be a spicy take is just the cap number for Carson Wentz is wild, and I don't know how they're gonna get out of it. So that's the one thing.
Right. So Carson Wentz is not playing well at all. To go from MVP candidate in 2017 to be where you are now, I feel very bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
But also play football better.
Yeah.
Look, the Eagles have had such an injury problem for the past at least 2 seasons, and Wentz has been a part of that. So I don't blame everything on him, but a lot of other quarterbacks are being talked about negatively for not playing as poorly as he has been. Yeah. Cough, Mitch Trubisky, cough. So I don't know. It's
yeah. I mean, and this week, Doug Peterson gave a press conference where reporters asked like, "Hey, are you thinking about benching Wentz and starting Hurts?" And he's like, "Well, if I do that, I feel like I would be indicating to the team that we're not trying to, that we're giving up for the season, that we are not pursuing the playoffs anymore, that we are just giving up." And I look at that, I'm like, I don't know, man. I feel like starting Hurts is your way of saying, I want to make the playoffs. I want to get to the point. I want to actually get in there, because at this point, Carson Wentz has become a liability. And look, I'm not saying that the offensive line has been playing great. I'm not saying that the weapons around Wentz have been superb. I'm not saying that the offense has in any way, shape, or form done Wentz favors. I'm just saying that he has played poorly to the point where it's not the end of the world to look at who else you have, and what if Hurts is a guy that can get you to a point where you're winning the NFC East? I mean, you have the lead in the division right now. You do. I know it's just a half game, but you got it. Like all you have to do is win you have to win out and just hope that the other teams falter. And obviously that's a tough task on its own, but even still, if you can at least remain competitive in every game going forward, why not give it a shot? It just, so to me, it's a little bit I feel like there's egg on the face of Doug Peterson right now, where he's doubling down on sticking with Carson Wentz, and I'm just, I don't know what the feeling is in that locker room right now. I don't know if maybe the team has rallied around Carson Wentz and wants him to keep the job, and they don't want Jalen Hurts to take it. So maybe that's why Doug Peterson is not making that choice. But I don't know. I just feel like that's if you want to keep winning, I don't see why not change to that.
Yeah, it's strange times, and I hope that I don't know if they're going to get anything together, and I don't really have anything more to say about it. I don't know why I kept saying and.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think I don't know if Carson Wentz will be off the Eagles roster again because of the cap situation, but I do think that if they could get rid of him, they would. I think that if the contract wasn't an issue, I think they would get rid of him after this year.
Yep.
So there's that, and my kind of spicy take, but not really. I would say if there is a chance for a change in ownership of an NFL team going into 2021, I think it's the guy that has had numerous investigations against him in recent months, and a guy that just, even though he finally changed his tune on his nickname for the team, has perpetuated a culture that has just been toxic throughout. And Dan Snyder, I think there's a good chance that his time in the NFL is running out. And I think that there's stakeholders under him. I guess minority owners that are looking to sell their stakes because they don't want to be involved with the organization anymore unless he sells the team. So I think that we're moving in that direction where the Washington football team is going to get rid of their biggest plague right now. That's left hanging over their team.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. Yep. Would love to see it.
Yeah, that
get the fuck out of here.
That's one of those that's like the one of the big turkeys sitting at the NFL table because we know how rich the NFL is. There's like 32 turkeys.
Yep.
So one of those turkeys is turned bad, and you gotta get rid of them, because you don't want to eat the spoiled meat. So there you go. Make sure your food is nice and fresh on this Thanksgiving Day, because the last thing we need that anyone needs during a pandemic is to get sick from food poisoning. It's my advice. Just fucking hang that up on a fucking wall.
Thanks.
And embroider that.
I appreciate it.
On a mountain background. So before we move on to the picks, VBBFL. We'll see if we get to it this weekend with Thanksgiving being afoot. What is going to be our slate for this week? Let's see. I'm opening up our schedule.
One that I know for sure is we have Anaconda versus Phoenix City, which is our winless game matchup.
What's your predictions for that? Curiosity.
God, I think it's gonna be Anaconda just because Anaconda has played close games.
Sure.
And lost. But it's still gonna be wild. Our other matchups, we have Weatherford at Escondido, which have they played yet? I don't think so, but that's a nice. No, they have not. But that's a nice rivalry matchup.
Yep. That's the top teams in the West Conference right now.
Yeah, so that will be a fun game to see who can remain on top. We have Mansfield and East Chicago, nice divisional matchup. Try to see who can get second place behind Perth Amboy, and then Perth Amboy at Brainerd interdivision. That should be pretty good too. We'll see how Perth Amboy does in that one. See if they can keep their win streak up.
Yeah, Perth Amboys are only undefeated team remaining. Mansfield at East Chicago is a rematch of a game that happened 2 VBBFL weeks ago. That's a quick turnaround for those teams to play each other again. But yeah, no, I'm excited about this slate. I would say, I'm with you on Anaconda. I think Anaconda just because of the ball handling stat is a very crucial element of things. I think it's going to play a factor, but I don't know. There's also the fact that you will have a -6 versus -10 ball handling versus defense thing going on between Phoenix City and Anaconda. That's where Phoenix City could get an advantage. I think it's going to be a shootout. I genuinely...
Oh, I can't wait.
I think it's going to be a shootout of epic proportions. If there's any game that's going to go to overtime, I think it's going to be that. I know this is us overhyping an 0-4 matchup, but man, I'm excited for it. So, it's gonna be interesting. And I had to put my thumb on the scale of the Weatherford Escondido matchup. Let me look at their stats again. I have to remind myself what their situation is.
They're both pretty. They both lean offensive.
Yeah,
but nothing too extreme.
If I had to pick one, I think I would go with Weatherford.
Weatherford with that higher ball handling set is gonna be nice.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, the defense is not as good as Escondido, but I think that's where I would be leaning in those games. All right, so those will most likely be our bookend matchups, and we'll that will be a lot of fun to play out. So stay tuned on our Twitter page. We'll let you know what time we're going to go live.
Yeah.
Again, most likely this Saturday, but again, if anything happens, we will let you guys know at Virtual Ballboys. All right. It is time for Week 12 picks. Last week, I blew it.
You blew it.
I was like, we traded weeks where we just absolutely flatlined on epic proportions, and so I gained ground and then lost all the ground I gained last week.
Oh, and you know what happens? We had a super fucko.
Oh yeah.
It paid off.
Wait, what was that noise? What was that?
Do you have any guesses?
I mean, it sounded like a bottle cap. Maybe you're spinning a bottle cap. I have no idea.
No, it was a mini Allen wrench hitting the bottom of a soda can.
Hey, something soda related. I got kind of close with bottle cap.
Yeah.
So essentially, this was a rough week for both of us pick wise, but you at least still remained at 500.
I went 500 and got my chaos right, so that's
you got a point.
Net positive for me this week. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, 5 and 9.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
-1. I lost both my chaos and my guarantee, and I lost 5 points.
Oh my god.
So I've moved backwards back to 27 points.
I'm sitting at 38. My last 4-week point totals have been 37, 38, 37, 38.
Oh, there you go. Got a trend going. I will say though, like, all things considered, I think our records are pretty fucking good overall.
They are, really. Especially compared to last year.
Yeah, like I don't know what like the standing situations are with like other like experts out there or whatever. I would have to look up on the websites, but yeah, I feel like we're trending in the right direction pick wise this year, which is nice.
At this point last year, I had I'm actually close to what I was at last year. I have 91 correct this year, and I had 94 correct week 11 last year.
You're at 99.
I'm at 99. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So 99 correct this year, 94 correct last year.
Okay.
At week 11. But point total wise, because of how many fucking guarantees I got wrong last year. I was at 23 points last year, and I'm at 38 now, so that's neat.
Yeah, you've bounced back big time on the guarantee front.
Yeah.
Sitting at 8-3 overall on the guarantees. So yeah, I'm gonna look into how we compare to the experts out there. But not the best performance from me. That right now, obviously I'm trailing, but I still look at 95, 65 and feel like, okay,
that's
feels
great.
Pretty good. Feel pretty good about that regardless. All right, so week 12, turn the page now. We have quite an interesting slate here. Only 2 Thanksgiving games, as was reported earlier today, or at least yesterday when you're listening to this. The Ravens and Steelers primetime game has been moved to Sunday at 1:15 p.m. because of the Ravens COVID situation at the moment, sparking outrage from the Steelers players because reasons, I guess. They want extra off time. I guess they wanted because they had a bye week in week 4, a forced bye week in week 4. I get it. I guess I
understand the frustration, and both instances are not the Steelers' fault as well.
Right.
Which is to note, but also it is a wild time. The fact that you're even playing right now is a good thing.
I don't know about you. I'm so like. I'm enjoying watching football and I'm enjoying doing this podcast. If there was no football going on, I would be fine. I don't really care. I don't really care. I don't care. This year has drained me of all like glory about like real life events of things. So
as long as people are staying safe, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So I hear what the Steelers are going on about, but to me it's like the biggest third world problem or first world problems, I should say, that are out there. Like who cares? You'll rest up, you'll be fine. You get an extra few days before the game. Anyways, Texans at Lions starts out at 12:30 p.m.
I think this will be the first. Do you want to do this one?
Well,
I don't know why I don't know why I interrupted there, because that's not how we do this at all.
No,
go ahead.
It's okay. You're fine. Texans and Lions. Texans coming off a nice victory. I lost my guarantee last week, but I'm very happy for Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans getting on the right track and not losing to a team, or at least beating a team that's not Jacksonville. That's very good for them. So they're sitting now at 3-7. The Detroit Lions should be fucking ashamed of themselves. Got shut out by one of the worst defenses in the league in the Carolina Panthers. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
I'm gonna go with the Texans, obviously.
Yeah.
Love how Deshaun Watson's playing. I think this is the first time I'll get to watch a Texans game since week 1, which is pretty cool.
Yes. Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I think it's a frisky game. I know this is like, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but the idea that we get to see Deshaun Watson play a game after, it's been such a rough season for him, I think it's exciting. And it's so exciting, in fact. Now, I am also picking the Texans, and I'm guaranteeing it at the same
Hooray!
time. So I've switched my guarantee to the team that I guaranteed against last week, because I'm that much on board on Deshaun Watson.
I've done that before. It's fun.
It feels good. All right, next up.
All right, next up we have the other Thanksgiving game, the Washington football team against the Dallas Cowboys. Both teams 3-7. Both teams going to attempt to potentially be in first place in the division after this entire week is done, after Monday night. How do you think this is going to go?
Oh, man, this was tough, actually. This was a tough one for me to pick because I feel like the Washington football team has been frisky. Their offense is not looking too bad. Alex Smith is doing his job. They have some great players with Antoine Gibson and Terry McLaurin has been playing, right? I'm almost certain. Yeah,
yes.
And the Dallas Cowboys have been looking better right now. I think their defense is starting to play what we expected them to play as. Andy Dalton's doing his job with the weapons that have been provided to him. I'm going to go with the Cowboys, but I am kind of rooting for Washington here a little bit.
I may as well, just because I don't like the Cowboys very much.
Yes.
And I'm trying to decide which team I like the least. At least, Washington has a couple fun players to watch.
I like Alex
Gibson
Smith's story,
Yeah, Alex Smith has a fun story. I'm going to stick with picking Dallas, but I'm kind of in the same boat as you.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I think Dallas is going to get the win, but we'll see. Next up, we would have been the Ravens Steelers here. There is like a little bit of me that's like, we don't get the threesome, but that's okay. The Las Vegas Raiders at Atlanta Falcons start up our Sunday slate here. The Raiders, of course, coming off of the loss against the Chiefs, and the Falcons coming off of the blowout against the Saints. What do you think is going to happen here?
I think the Raiders are a very good team, and I'm very confident that they will continue to have success, just not against the Chiefs like they did last week, and even that felt kind of like a success. So I'm going to pick the Raiders, and I'm going to guarantee them. Very
nice. Very nice. Yeah, no, I'm with you on this. I'm not in the biggest, I did try to get the Falcons in Team Chaos this past week. It didn't work out in my favor. This probably would have been a stronger Team Chaos than last week against the Saints, just considering the Saints have a really formidable defense.
Right.
But I will stick with the Raiders here. I like what I've been seeing from them. So there you go.
Hell yeah. Next up, the Los Angeles Chargers, coming off of their win against the Jets, take on the Buffalo Bills, who have an inverse record as they do, coming off of their bye. Who do you have in this matchup?
There's sometimes when you read these, I love the little details that you point out. Inverse record. It's
inverse
true.
record. 3-7 versus 7-3. It makes sense.
Yeah. I gotta go with the Bills. I know that there is something to be said about coming off of a devastating loss and maybe not fully recovering from it, but the Bills are coming off of a bye. They've had a few weeks to ruminate on what happened and turn the page. I do trust this Bills team. I like what this Bills team is doing, and so I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, me as well. The Bills want to stay on top of the division and prove that they are as good as everyone wants them to be.
Indeed. The New York Football Giants go up against Cincinnati Bengals. We didn't even get the chance to discuss the fact that Joe Burrow is out for the year with a torn ACL as well as believe a torn MCL.
Yeah, it's bad. It's fucked up.
And a few other things, so that is a really devastating injury. Joe Burrow should make a full recovery, but might even miss a few weeks of next season, which is just insane. And so I wish him well, and we all wish him well on the podcast. But they will march on with Brandon Allen starting at quarterback against the New York Giants, who are coming off a bye. What do you think is going to happen?
I think that the Giants are a really good team, and the fact that Burrow is not going to be starting, who is starting?
Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen. He started. Just for people who are like, who the fuck is that? That was a quarterback that started for the Broncos, I believe, last year.
That's right. Yeah. So decent hands, but not Burrow hands. And with how good the Giants' defense has been, and even a little bit competent of an offense against the Bengals, the Giants are an easy pick for me.
Yeah, no, I really, I think the biggest the thing is that the Bengals just lost their biggest strength, and when their offensive line is terrible, their defense is not playing all that great. I think the Giants should be able to handle this game with ease. So,
yep,
I believe in the Giants.
Cool. All right, the second place in the division, 7-3. I gave my last pick. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought I didn't. The second place in the division, 7-3, Cleveland Browns take on the 1-9 Jacksonville Jaguars, who haven't won a game since week 1. And Mike Glennon got the start yesterday. What do you think is going to happen?
I will say, because I felt like the team chaoses this week were like bleak, I almost picked the Jaguars here, but I went against that because then I found out Mike Glennon was starting at quarterback this week for the Jaguars. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go Cleveland Browns, because they're playing weirdly close games, but they've also had really terrible weather luck, and again on Sunday there's gonna be another rainstorm that they're gonna have to fucking play through.
God, that sucks.
So, we have no idea what this fucking Cleveland team is, but they have a good chance of sitting at 8-3 when it's all said and done. So,
yep. So I found this. I'm gonna pick the Browns, but talking about Mike Glennon, I found this circle of benching that is very interesting to me.
Yes, I saw this, but go ahead.
So Mike Glennon was benched for Mitch Trubisky, who was benched for Nick Foles, who was benched for Gardner Minshew, who was benched for Jake Luton, who was benched for Mike Glennon. The circle of suck has been complete.
The circle of suck. No, that's insane. That is wild. That it kind of what is that? That's Jaguar. That's just Jaguars Bears, right?
Just on the Jaguars and the Bears, which is even better.
Man, yeah, locked arms, man. Those franchises. All right, so stick with the Browns. Tennessee Titans at Indianapolis Colts. All right, so here we go. Big AFC South showdown. This is one of those things where it's the divisional opponents that play each other twice in a 3-week span. And these things could get freaking weird. Both teams are on an upwards trajectory, as both teams won in close games against really good opponents. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I was literally thinking of, like, just now, I was thinking, you know what, I'm going to pick whichever team Chris doesn't. Because that's how much I do not know what to pick with these teams. Because Titans took down the Ravens. Now, the Ravens haven't been that good lately.
Sure.
And the Colts took down the Packers pretty well. And it's just not gonna work out. But you know who I'm gonna put all my faith in? Rodrigo Blankenship. I'm gonna pick the Colts.
Okay, there you go. I will. Well, luckily for you, I will defer on this. Just to
Okay.
go on this. I will go on the Titans. Not confident about it, but I will. I do think that there's always. I stand by something that happens frequently when it comes to these opponents. When you play an opponent in a 2 week span, like where you play them again, it's very hard for game plan wise to kind of prepare for them again. Like the
Mm-hmm.
Colts had a great game plan against the Titans the first time around. But they don't have, like, the Titans, they know what mistakes they made, and so they know what they have to fix to go into the next week, versus the Colts, where I think they don't have a lot of tape to go off of how the Titans have improved. You know what I mean? If that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, they only have one game that they could look at to be like, okay, where have the Titans improved, versus like for a lot of these divisional matchups, there's like 5 or 6 games in between for teams to evaluate. So that, I think that's why I'm gonna roll with the Titans, and I think Derrick Henry will carry the day.
Cool. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins against the New York Jets. We don't need to spend a ton of time in this game. This was going to be the second of 2 games that these teams played right in a row until COVID happened.
Yes.
But will Adam Gase get his revenge this time?
Nah.
No.
I think this is the bounce back game for Miami. I think that any concerns that they had about, offensive line and all this stuff, I think they get it fixed in this game. I mean, when you're facing the Jets, you should be able to bounce back against them. I think that I would enjoy. I feel like I would feel super confident. Like, even though I'm pretty freaking confident right now, I'd feel even super confident if this was taking place in Miami, because Miami just they have like a witch curse on the Miami stadium, that any opponent that goes into there will be vanquished in some regard. But but even still, even though they're in New York, I trust the Dolphins in this one.
Sweet.
And you agree, I guess. Yes.
Obviously.
Yes, yeah, just making sure. We have
unless stated otherwise, I'm not picking the Jets this season again.
Yes, fair enough.
Did it once, never again.
Never. It's not good. Not a good feeling. The Carolina Panthers at Minnesota Vikings. Vikings coming off a tough loss. We thought that they could start to build a little bit of a run here. To kind of carry off of their, to carry on like their hopes for potentially coming back into the playoff picture, but that didn't happen. The Cowboys took care of them relatively cleanly, and now they face the Carolina Panthers team that is expected to get Teddy Bridgewater back, will not have Christian McCaffrey back, but did shut out the Lions last week. What do you think's gonna happen?
I think this defense the Panthers defense is a little bit better than people often give them credit for. Still not great, still very young, but the Lions, they were the first defense to shut out a team this season.
Very nice.
Do I think it's going to happen again against the Vikings? A shutout? No, absolutely not, because Dalvin Cook exists. But I'm gonna, you know what? I had the Vikings written down. I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna go with the Panthers, because this is just, it's not my chaos, but it's something weird, a weird quirk that I think could happen.
Sure.
And I actually get to watch this game, and I have to choose between this one and Indy, Tennessee, and Steelers, Ravens. So that's gonna be awful.
I'm gonna roll with the Vikings here. I do believe what you're saying, Matt. I do think that maybe the defense gets a little bit of a bad rap, and they did play better last week. But I do think, I just think I think the Lions are just entering incompetent territory versus the Vikings, where I do think that part of the reason why they lost last week is because the Cowboys defense is getting better, and I think that the Vikings could get to a point where I think they take care of business. I think that they could get it done. I think the one thing that I would be interested in watching, though, is that Adam Thielen is on the COVID list at the moment. So we'll see if he bounces back from that. But I'm putting my faith behind Dalvin Cook. So there you go.
Cool. We need some more disagreements. We've been agreeing too much.
Yeah, no, yeah, we got two thus far. We haven't even gotten to the chaoses yet. So
no.
Here we go.
All right, Arizona Cardinals coming off of a loss against Seattle take on the New England Patriots, who lost to the Texans. Both teams trying to bounce back, although in a little bit different places compared to one another. How do you think this is going to go?
This is a tough one. There was a part of me that was going to pick the Patriots because it's in their home stadium. Oh, now I'm thinking about it even more. The Patriots, it's in their home stadium, and I could see where maybe the Patriots could, dial something up against Kyler Murray, but I just still trust the Cardinals too much. I still like them a lot. I think that they're a really solid team, and I think the extra time that they got, from playing on Thursday Night Football, I think is going to benefit them in this game, and I think they get the victory.
I'm going to go with the Cardinals because I still really love their offense, and they're competing for a lot more than the Patriots are right now, so they're going to be hungrier for it.
Definitely. Agreed. All right.
Yep.
That was tough, though. I was thinking about Patriots, but yep. I just trust the Cardinals too much right now.
Cool.
Next up, the Baltimore Ravens at Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, so this was the game that we were going to see on Thanksgiving night. Of course, due to COVID, it was pushed back to Sunday. We're going to have Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth calling a game at 1:15 p.m. on NBC while the Fox and CBS 1 o'clock games are being played. That's fucking wild.
That is weird. And they're calling the game at night too?
No, Mike Tirico and Tony Dungy are doing the 8 o'clock game.
That'll be a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I love Mike Tirico, man. I miss him in the football game, being a frequent play-by-play guy. So this is now Ravens. This is a big one for the Ravens. We all kind of predicted or wanted to predict at least that the AFC North was going to belong to the Ravens here. And losing this game would put them out of reach because then the Steelers would have the tiebreaker and would have 11 wins, and the most wins the Ravens would be able to get is 11. So the Ravens, this is like their last-ditch effort to make that happen, and they're just trying to stay in the playoffs. So I mean, they're not even in the playoff picture right now.
It's not looking good for them.
But the Steelers are sitting at 10-0, but also have their own set of issues. What do you think is going to happen?
So there weren't a lot of chaoses this week, so I picked the Ravens.
Okay.
I'm not super confident in it, but the Steelers have to lose at some point, or they won't. They have to lose at some point, or they won't, which is a weird way to say that. But this is one of the last opportunities where I do think they can lose. If I check the Steelers' schedule.
I agree. I mean, I feel like this is. I don't think this team is going to go 16-0. I think they'll lose at some point.
They do have to deal with the Bills, Colts, and Browns.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest threat to the Steelers right now, record-wise, in their division is the Browns, which is just wild to say.
I don't think they'll lose enough games to where Week 17 is going to decide the division.
No, I think they're fine. I think that if anything, they lose one game, maybe two, two.
So this is one that they could, and probably more likely later on. But
sure.
I'm gonna go with the Ravens this time.
Yeah, I wanted to pick the Ravens, but with the COVID issues, with the offensive line falling apart even beyond COVID, with their defense just not playing up to snuff and the passing game continuing to be an issue, there's a lot of things that it is really hard for me to get behind with the Ravens right now. And it's tough because the Ravens looked great in the first half against the Steelers, and then they just let it go. And I just don't feel like the Ravens are a team that can come back or I would be worried about them holding a lead at this point because I feel like their team is just kind of built to be, to be come back on. If that come back on, whatever the fuck you want, however you want to come back on.
I get you.
Whatever the phrasing is, I'm gonna stick with the Steelers. But I don't think this is a team chaos you should feel too badly about. Because I think that it's Ravens Steelers is always weird. Anything can happen in it.
Yep.
And so, I would have faith. Yeah.
All right. Next up, New Orleans Saints against Denver Broncos. Denver coming off of a win, and Saints rolling with Taysom Hill again, I believe.
I would believe so.
Oh yeah, Drew Brees is on IR. That's right. Taysom Hill actually played pretty good in his game last week. Can he defeat the Broncos in Mile High?
I don't think so. And again, I'll give my preference that I get to the Dolphins game last week and say like I am worried about any team that goes into Denver.
Mm-hmm.
But I still don't really. I do think that the Saints have a better team around them overall. I think that the defense will get the job done. I mean because that was really the story that came out of Atlanta, and also I think, I think. I just love Alvin Kamara. I think he can run all up on this team.
He is so good.
I want him to destroy the Denver Broncos. So I'm picking the Saints.
I'm picking the Saints as well. Easy pick.
Okay. Before we move on, we have some breaking news and really sad news to report. Marcus Paul, the Cowboys strength and conditioning coach who had a medical emergency earlier this week, unfortunately has passed away at the age of 54. And that is a day, at least for us, it's the day before the Cowboys play on Thanksgiving, on Thursday. What a crazy situation. I don't know what the details of that are. That's just coming up on my ticker. But really, really sad situation. Sorry to bring the mood down, but I figured that was news that just came in as we were recording this. So my condolences to the Cowboys organization and to everyone connected to Marcus Paul, as well. He's a former defensive back as well. Next up, the San Francisco 49ers at Los Angeles Rams. The 49ers coming off of a bye, and the Rams coming off of they're probably their biggest victory of the season to date. What do you think is going to happen?
I think that with how much the 49ers are still banged up, that the Rams are going to take this one pretty easily. There's not much to say about them.
Well, I have some things to say about them.
Okay, all right. I was with how long that pause was. I know what you're doing now.
I'll say this. I'm not confident in it, but I do think that the 49ers have competed well against the Rams. I think Kyle Shanahan has outcoached Sean McVay in a lot of ways before, and I do think that what the Rams did on Monday night is a big step forward for them to look like a contender, and they are in the NFC for sure. I'm not gonna sleep on this 49ers team just yet. I think I really still like a lot of what their defense has to bring. I know that there's some parts that are not there, but I think that they can make things interesting. And I think that if they disrupt enough things with Los Angeles, I think that they could get the job done. So I'm going San Francisco for my team chaos of the week.
Hell yeah. Next up, Kansas City Chiefs coming off of their win. The Chiefs have now beaten every team that they have played this year since they were able to beat their only loss. Take on the Buccaneers, who have been kind of on a downslide recently.
Mm-hmm.
What was once probably a game of the week matchup still probably is. In fact, it is, because that's the only thing that CBS is showing in the late slot. What do you think is going to happen?
I believe that I think that the Chiefs are gonna get it done. I'm not sleeping on the Buccaneers though. I think that the Bucs defense could be a problem potentially. It could deliver a blow to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense a little bit. But I don't know. My faith has been with Kansas City. I always try to pick them. They're kind of like the new Patriots, where like it's hard for me to pick against them. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs.
I'm going with the Chiefs as well. I don't I don't really trust Tom Brady anymore, and this is kind of how I thought Brady would be playing at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, he's old. He can't throw deep balls.
Yeah.
For a team that's known for throwing deep balls and receivers that are used to that. So, and his running backs can't fucking catch the ball. My God. The running back situation in Tampa, they signed 50 of them and none of them can do their jobs. Did you see that one gif of Leonard Fournette?
No, I don't think so.
There's a gif of Fournette from last week's game where it was making fun of Fournette's eyesight because he was given the ball and there is a clear hole on his right hand side where he could run and get at least 4 yards, if not more. Like it is a very clear hole. There is time to see it, and he runs left straight into the pile.
Ugh, Jesus. He's been doing that a lot in his career too.
Absolutely, but it's
just it adds the absurdity of the situation right now.
It is frustrating. Tampa's not gonna win. My confidence in Tampa as a whole has gone down so much.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm still not out on them. I still have faith in Bruce Arians. I know that there's some people who have been questioning his coaching as of late. And that's completely valid. I do think that this team will still make the playoffs, and I still think they could go a good ways. But there is some concern about how the offense is structured right now. That consistently, the long ball is just not working out.
Long ball's not working out. Their running backs can't catch.
Yeah,
I could go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sunday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers host the Chicago Bears. Bears, we had 1 week where we didn't have to talk about the Bears.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to worry about any quarterback situations, but it looks like Mitch Trubisky is going to get the start here, potentially.
Nick Foles is currently Nick Foles did not practice today, and Mitch did.
Yes. And the Green Bay Packers coming off of the loss against the Colts. Can Mitch Trubisky bring some of his Mitch magic and defeat the Packers?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The team is still bad, otherwise we don't have an offensive line. If it happens, gonna be great.
Of course.
I'm just glad that we have other plans during this game time.
One right. That's true. Yeah, we got other things going on.
So Packers.
Yeah, I got go Packers here as well.
If Mitch comes in and wins this game though.
Yeah, that's why I'm not guaranteeing it. I thought about this game. I thought about it as a guarantee, but I was just like, Jesus, the Bears are so chaotic. I can't pick against them. Or I can't guarantee against them, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting situation for sure.
And last up, Monday Night Football, Seattle Seahawks take on the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't need to break these teams down too much, do I?
No, and I just want to acknowledge the fact that even though we have a full 16-game slate, man, has there been a drop-off between nationally televised games from Week 11 to Week 12.
Absolutely.
just a bit. Not like terrible. I mean, you still get the Packers, and the Seahawks in prime time.
But they're not playing each other.
They're not playing each other yet. No, I don't think you have to do much breakdown of it. I think the Seahawks will get the job done. I feel like the Eagles are just circling the drain, and sooner rather than later, they're just gonna go through and go into the sewers. I think that, I mean, right, that's where I feel right now with how absolutely buttfuck wild this NFC East is. It could be that the Eagles win this game and they're still sitting pretty on top of the NFC East. There's always a chance of that, but I think the Seahawks started to show some life last week when their defense showed up for once. So I'm going Seahawks.
What if the Eagles lose? The Washington and Dallas tie, and then New York loses.
Well, then it would be.
I think the Eagles are still on top. Well, no, because it would be 3-7.
It would be a three-way tie.
3-7-1 teams.
It would be a three-way tie. I think Washington would actually be at the top of the division at that point.
Okay. So what if New York also ties so that every team in the division is 3-7-1?
Jesus Christ! I mean,
I'm gonna pick the Seahawks. I just wanted to
my brain
put
is
out
now
some,
hurting. I'm trying to think of
some
how
dumb
that
scenarios for this god awful division. I know I ask this every week. How many wins does the winner of the division have?
At this point,
6.
I'm gonna say 7.
7? Okay.
I don't think it's gonna be a winning record.
It's not,
or 500 for that matter.
No,
because I mean it's not just the fact that where it is where it's all just chaotic, but it's also the fact that the Giants still have a tough schedule ahead. There's still some tough opponents for the Eagles. There's still tough opponents for all these guys to face because of the NFC West is still a factor for this team, for these guys to all face. So, yeah, it's just fucking insane. Oh God, it's so insane. But yeah, no, I think my prediction right now is the Cowboys win the division, but I'm not taking it to the bank just yet. Talk to me at like the stroke of midnight of like week 17, I guess. But there you go. 4 disagreements are Chaoses, which are the Ravens and the 49ers.
And then we have Tennessee, Indy, and then Carolina, Minnesota.
There you go. That is, we'll have 3 of those games take place around the 1 o'clock slate, and the other game at 4 o'clock. So a full day of Sunday. And I'm gonna be busy all day. We have a sneaky party that
an event.
Sneaky party that we're planning. I feel like this has nothing to do with this podcast. But,
no, absolutely not.
But we can I guess we can inform you of the details of it after the fact. But yeah, so that's so I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to sit and bask in these games, but no, yeah, it's gonna be fun. This is it though. We've now reached Thanksgiving. This is, as they say, like where the season really begins, so to speak.
We're in the home stretch,
and yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, we got our first playoff scenario today, so that's when we know shit's getting real. And so with that, folks, thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. And if you want some more podcast listening materials, we got a few things going on for Thanksgiving this week. On Tuesday was the release of the Gaming Coop episode of that's Thanksgiving related, where we talked about what games we were thankful for, and had our friend Jess join us for that episode. So we had a beefy slate overall of 7 people on a podcast at once. Boy, was that a fun thing to edit. And do we know if the one shot for Table Party came out?
I don't think it came out yet. My guess is that it'll come out tomorrow, but I cannot guarantee that.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk to Walsh about it, but keep an eye out. There will be a one shot for Thanksgiving coming out that features Walsh, of course, being the DM, and Kelsey as the sole person that is playing in the campaign.
Very similar to my Underdark campaign for Halloween.
Yes, exactly. So keep an eye out on that. Again, it may already be out. or it is on the verge of being out sometime this weekend. So keep an eye out for that stuff. But with that being said, folks, again, thank you all so much for listening. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we will see you next week.
Good night and good turkey. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.